What if I told you that after working your entire life, after paying Social Security taxes from every paycheck, after doing everything the government asks you to do, you could wake up one day and find out your monthly Social Security check has been cut by hundreds of dollars? Not because you did anything wrong, not because you failed to plan, but because the people running the system failed to act. And here's the part that should concern every American. This isn't some surprise crisis. This isn't a natural disaster. This isn't an unforeseen emergency. Washington has known this was coming for decades. Decades. Yet, here we are, talking about potential benefit reductions for millions of Americans who spent their entire lives believing the promises made to them. And in my opinion, this isn't just about Social Security. This is about what happens when government makes promises it doesn't properly prepare to keep. Tonight, we're going to talk about the numbers. We're going to talk about the reality, and we're going to ask a question many politicians would rather avoid. How did the richest country in the world allow one of its most important retirement programs to reach this point?
I'm exiled to the greener grass, searching for the uncertain haze.
Welcome to Chalms Talks. I'm Chalms, and this is a place where we discuss facts and opinions. Because opinions are like buttholes, everyone has one. The difference is I don't mind sharing mine. And tonight we're discussing Social Security. More specifically, why experts are warning that Social Security recipients could face reductions of roughly 20 to 25% by the early 2030s if lawmakers fail to act. Now, before we get started, let's separate facts from opinions. Fact: Social Security is not disappearing. Fact: millions of Americans depend on it. In fact, current projections show a significant funding shortfall in the coming decade. In my opinion, the shortfall itself isn't the biggest problem. The biggest problem is that Washington has known about it for years and continued operating as though someone else would eventually solve it. One thing conservatives often say is that eventually reality catches up. And whether you're talking about family budgets, business budgets, or government budgets, that's true. At some point, spending obligations have to align with available resources. Social Security currently pays benefits to roughly 70 million Americans. That's retirees, disabled workers, surviving spouses, and children of deceased workers. This isn't a small government program. It's one of the largest programs in America. The problem is simple. The system is paying out more than it's taking in. For years, the difference has been covered using trust fund reserves, but those reserves aren't unlimited. And according to current projections, those reserves could be depleted by the early 2030s. That's not politics. That's math. The math doesn't care whether you're a Republican or a Democrat. The math doesn't care about campaign promises. The math does not care about speeches. Eventually, the numbers demand answers. Now, here's where my opinion begins. The problem was predictable. Not yesterday, not 5 years ago, decades ago. Lawmakers knew baby boomers would retire. Lawmakers knew Americans were living longer. Lawmakers knew fewer workers would eventually support more retirees. Those weren't secrets. They weren't classified documents. They were publicly available projections. So why wasn't the problem addressed earlier? That's the question. Because if a business owner ignored warning signs for 20 years, we'd call it mismanagement. If a family ignored debt for 20 years. We'd call it irresponsibility. Somehow, when government ignores long-term financial warnings, we call it politics. In my opinion, that's part of the problem. The incentives in Washington often reward short-term popularity over long-term responsibility, and eventually taxpayers inherit the consequences. The people who created the problem aren't necessarily the people who will suffer from it. The people who suffer are ordinary Americans: retired factory worker, the widow living on a fixed income, the disabled veteran, the elderly couple trying to stretch every dollar. Imagine receiving $2,000 a month. Now imagine losing nearly $500 of it. For some politicians, that's dinner in Washington. However, for many retirees, that's groceries for a month. Medications, that's utilities. That's the difference between comfort and anxiety. And that's why this issue matters, not because of politics, because of people. Now, let me be clear. The conservative argument isn't that Social Security should disappear. That's not what most conservatives are arguing. The conservative argument is that promises require responsible funding. A promise without a plan is just a wish. And if a system has structural problems, those problems should be addressed before they become emergencies, because delaying reform doesn't eliminate the cost. It transfers the cost, usually to future taxpayers, future workers, or future retirees. And that's exactly where we find ourselves today. Here's another hard truth. There is no magical solution. Anyone telling you there is probably wants your vote. The options are limited. Raise taxes, raise the retirement age, adjust benefits, expand taxable wages, or some combination of all four. Every option creates winners and losers. Every option carries consequences, but delaying action carries consequences too. And in my opinion, that's the lesson here. Ignoring difficult decisions doesn't make them disappear. It makes them bigger. At its core, this isn't really a story about Social Security. It's a story about responsibility. Responsibility to taxpayers, responsibility to workers, to retirees, and responsibility to future generations. The projections we're discussing today aren't proof that America is collapsing. They're proof that promises require planning. And when planning is delayed long enough, reality eventually arrives with the bill. The good news is that there is still time to act. The bad news is that that time is not unlimited. And the longer Washington waits, the fewer painless options remain. That's my opinion. Now I want to hear yours. Do you believe Social Security can be fixed? Who should bear the cost of fixing it? And what reforms would you support? Leave a comment below. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe, follow, and share it with someone interested in understanding how decisions made in Washington eventually affect kitchen table budgets across America. Until next time, stay curious and have a wonderful day. Bye.